This is Jenny from Just Being Me, and you're listening to the Learning to Love Yourself podcast, the show that inspires you to put yourself first.
Learning to love yourself on the path to happiness. Learning to love yourself on the path to happiness.
Welcome everybody to this edition of the podcast. Today we're speaking to Lucy Sheffield, who is an amazing person, and we always spend a lot of time yakking about nothing in particular, really, don't we, Lucy? When we're together.
Yeah, we talk about how amazing the world is.
Exactly. So Lucy, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name's Lucy Sheffield, as you said. Thanks, Jenny, for having me here. I'm an abstract artist and I specialise in seascapes and fantasy landscape.
Tell us about your self-care and why you realised you needed to change your world.
Yeah, that's a long one. I've just been writing about it actually because I don't know if you know or not, Jenny, but I'm writing a book on addiction. So my story is that I went from being a piss artist to an abstract artist. That's what I'm calling my book. And I was just literally writing some of that maybe half an hour before we jumped on here today. And it's quite apt that you asked that question because what was happening for me at the time was that I realised not only was I horrible to everyone around me, there was so much anger and hatred inside of me that I knew that needed to change because it was hurting me and the people that I loved. So when you're kind of asking, like, when did you realise and know that you have to kind of look after yourself first? That was what it was, like 12 years ago when that happened to me, when I began on this journey of like, I'm squashing myself here. This isn't good. I don't like who I am. I'm not being me and I'm not allowing myself to like shine and be out in the world as best as I can. So in a nutshell, that was when I first realised what was happening for me. So yeah. Was that
what did you put in place then? If you realised 12 years ago, actually you didn't like yourself and you didn't like the way life was, what did you put into place? What did you change?
Well, I didn't know, like the honest answer is I didn't know what to do to change. I didn't know how to stop my drinking addiction and how to change as a person. But I came across my auntie who I know you know, Deb, and she started talking to me about this thing about thought. And I was like, what is she on about? But what I did know was I could see that she'd changed and she'd come out of an abusive relationship. And I was like, what is this? Like, how do I get this? So what I started to learn and understand from her was how we create our reality through our thoughts. So from there, I began to basically look in the direction of spirituality, if you like, and healing from the inside instead of trying to change all the circumstances and everything on the outside and trying to change people or anything like that. It started from learning about who I am at my core and realizing that that's where like sustainable change happens. So that's where it all began, if that makes any sense.
See, this is something I talk to people about all the time, that actually all of the other stuff only comes when you get to know who you are right at the very center of you.
Yes.
And work outward.
Yeah.
And it's such you can do all of the self-care stuff as much as you like.
Yeah.
If you don't consciously start thinking, who am I? What do I want? How do I want to be? You know, all of those integral parts of you.
Yeah.
You're just saying nice things.
Yes. Exactly. You're just like copying someone else's words. It's not coming from inside of you, from the feeling. So yeah.
Absolutely. So obviously you met with Deb and you started thinking you wanted to do that, and kind of what were the next steps that you went along the line? Was it following Deb's thought processes, or was it actually because, you know, I do know your family and Deb are quite different.
I know. We are very different. We're also really similar in lots of ways.
Exactly. I was going to say we're very much the same, but you are quite different. So to follow Deb's journey isn't something that you would have done without squashing you again.
No, exactly. And that's been something that I've had to learn. And so has Deb. That's a whole nother podcast.
We'll see in a few months then.
But what happened initially was, because I didn't know who I was and I didn't know how to find out who that was, or how to get to the core of me, I started having regular conversations with Deb. Like she does it. She still, she does it to this day. She does one-to-one mentoring, and she started mentoring me and teaching me about how our thoughts work and how we create and how to listen to our own wisdom instead of listening to our thoughts and beliefs that are kind of made up, and we've believed those for so many years that we think they're truths. So she taught me, instead of teaching me like, oh, right, this is what you need to do because this is what I've done. She said, you have your own wisdom. So you have like your own internal sat nav, if you like, your own guide that you can follow, that you can trust, that you can, like basically you can trust yourself to know that you're unique and you're on this journey, and you can follow those feelings and that, and I guess intuition and gut feelings and stuff. It's like that for me.
So very true in the fact that actually, when you think about the fact that, to create you had a mum and a dad who had a different set of genes. You have siblings, but you're different to your siblings. So then your mum and dad also came through that process.
Yeah.
So you can't be anybody else. You have to be uniquely you.
Yeah.
And if you're not uniquely you, then you're not able to look after you because you don't know who you are.
No, exactly. Yeah. And I think so many of us struggle with who we are and what does it even mean to be you and that kind of thing. And I think it is really, we're not taught to listen to our feelings and follow those. We're taught to listen to society and other people know better and all this kind of stuff. And, not slating anyone, but like doctors know better than you. And it's like, what if we know our bodies just as well and things like that? And I think that's where, when you're talking about self-care, that's really, it kind of brings it back round to that when you first asked me. It's like, I don't have a self-care routine that I do this every morning or I go for a walk or I just know that my wisdom is built in, and that if I can stop and take a breath and listen for that feeling, I know what self-care I need in the moment. And that changes all the time. It isn't, oh yeah, I always need to go out for a walk in nature, which I do like doing quite a lot. It's definitely something I do. Or I need to meditate, or I need to have a conversation with Deb, or I need to go and paint, or I need to read or write. They're all the things that I do for self-care, if you like, but I don't particularly have a plan. It doesn't look like it works that way to me. It looks like I can trust that I know what to do in every single moment.
And do you think that's because you are quite a long way down your journey? So therefore now actually you are living your life in that way anyway.
Yeah. It's
because I know for me that my journey, I'm now in a place of where I live my life in a particular way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as far along the journey perhaps as you, or I haven't been thinking about things.
Yeah.
I now know, I can feel, and I know that, okay, look, I'm a bit off today. And I ask myself, what is it that I need?
Yeah.
And then I go with that. But we are very lucky in the fact that we're both self-employed.
Yeah.
So we can kind of almost go, okay, I need to take some time at some point during this day. And I do create my diary so that I have got time to do that if I need to.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people who aren't that lucky, who have to go to work between 9 and 5 and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So again, for those types of people looking at your journey, if you can't just, say, right, I'm going to go for a walk now, what would you suggest to them?
It's a really good question, actually, Jenny, because I'm exploring this myself at the moment, because I think what we perhaps don't realize as humans is that we always have the availability to connect to that peace that we want to feel, which is what we attach to. Oh, I'm going to go for a walk to feel peaceful, to feel better, to feel whatever. I'm going to read my book to relax and feel better and whatever, take time out for me. And I'm just learning this. So bear with me. But there is a place inside of us that we can do that all the time. We can go there all the time because it's in here. It's not out there that the answer isn't, it might make us feel better momentarily to go for a walk, But even when you're doing that, it's not the walk or the nature, like it's you're connecting back in here. So we may not know how to do it, because I don't always know how to do it. And I don't think everyone always knows how to do it. But we can learn and we can start to realize that we can connect to that at any point. So that means if you're stuck in a job or you're doing something that you're not enjoying, there is a way, and I can't tell you what that way is, but there is a way to be okay in every single moment. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense to me, but it's also about the fact that actually people like to be able to hang on to something, don't they? They like to be able to have a do. And for me, when I'm talking to anybody that's in that situation, it's the fact that actually, yeah, you go to work, but you can actually go and step to an outside door and take a few breaths.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
yeah.
And you're right, it is. We describe all these activities, walking, having a nap, reading a book, listening to music, whatever, riding your bike, whatever lights you up. We describe all of these things as doing things.
Yeah.
But the reality is we need the doing to be the be.
Yeah.
So actually you can be the be without the doing. I really hope that everybody's following this.
Yeah.
But it's just a typical conversation that you and I have. But, but until you know how to just be the be, we still need something to hang on to it. It's a faith, isn't it? Of knowing that that's there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, we always mostly associate a faith with a God, a universe or something. But actually the faith is truly inside of you, isn't it? It's knowing that in the center of me, there is truly me. I just have to find that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it's looking at the ways to do that. And that's what that shows, ultimately that we are all absolute individuals. So we do have to find our own way. And that's why working with people like myself or with Deb, where we base it on, we're not saying you must do this. We base it on what is it that you need? How are we going to work with you? You're finding the you and we work with that.
Yeah.
Is, for me, is such a good way to work.
Absolutely.
Because you're finding the true person inside of you. You're writing a book at the moment.
Yeah. Whatever I need to do and get it out before the end of next year. Yeah.
Perfect. Now, just a quick last question, because I want to hear the answer to this question. How important to you is it having the right people around you?
Very. I'm fussy about who I hang out with. I didn't used to be. I would just, have loads of friends and do, just be with people. But I struggle being around people who aren't interested in learning more about themselves at a deeper level. I don't really like just unmeaningful conversations, if that makes sense. It's not that I won't do that and I won't hang out with people, but my favorite thing is to be surrounded by people who encourage me to be me and I encourage them and we uplift each other and we're changing the world in a nutshell, Jen. However, having said that, I do have more tolerance because of what I've learned and how I've seen myself and the compassion that I have for myself now. It does help me have more compassion for others. And I see the innocence in, that how can you know something if you don't know it?
Absolutely.
Where and you're not in this conversation and you're not on this path, then, that's not really their fault. It's an innocent thing. I didn't know it for years. But it's a lot more helpful to me to be around people who are, that then helps me with other people who aren't. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Because I think from my perspective, being around the people that actually expand my world rather than push my world in,
yes,
means that I have an awful lot more energy because it fills my cup. And then I have that extra energy to be able to support others.
Yeah.
And I love that moment whereby you're asking somebody a question and they go, "Ooh, I don't know that about me."
Yeah.
And they have to really think that. And then you ask another one and they realize actually they know very little about themselves.
Yeah.
And I love my journeys of going, "Oh, why have I just reacted like that?"
Yeah. It's cool, isn't it? It's fascinating.
And that's why I love being around you, because too often you'll go, "And so why is that then, Jen?" I don't know. I'll have to think on that one. Lucy, and come back to you.
Exactly. It opens us up, doesn't it? And then it opens up to like I feel like I'm curious about the world in a playful way. Like I'm curious about who I am and why people do what they do and why I do what I do. And when you're around other people and you're getting conversations that are deeper than just, what you've had for dinner or whatever, it opens that curiosity up more. And then we learn and then we grow and then we blossom. And yeah.
It's a wonderful process, but it's also the fact that, actually when people say, let's have a deep conversation, that makes a lot of people go, whoa. And actually the conversations you and I are they're never like that. So they're much more, but they are much more about how we react and how we do. And they're not deep philosophical, but they are much more about how are we functioning? What are we building with ourselves? How are we expanding? And how we learn about ourselves.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
Lucy, it's been fabulous chatting to you today.
Really nice. I've loved it.
We will put all the links. So if you want to go and do some art stuff or just want to get in touch with Lucy, we'll put all the links down below.
Yes.
So that you can get in touch with Lucy and find out a little bit more about her world.
Fabulous. I love having new people in my world. So that'll be amazing.
Thanks ever so much, Lucy. We'll speak soon.
Jenny, take care.
My fabulous Just Being Me energy tracker is now available as an ebook for only £4.44. That's right, 12 months of energy tracking, plus a section for identifying your energies in conjunction with the moon phases, plus my vibrational chart for just £4.44. Happy 2024. Thanks for listening today. If you'd like to know more, you can find all the links down below. Oh, and don't forget to press subscribe so you can catch the next one. See you soon.